Hey, Jeremy here from Vivax-Metrotech. Today I'm going to walk you through how to use and set up the vLoc3 RTK-Pro. Let's get into this now. Alright, so I'm going to walk you through start to finish how to set up, how to take surveys, and then how to use those surveys after you're done. I'm going to break this video up into segments, so if you're only interested in certain segments, you can jump ahead to those right now. Alright, so let's get into how to set up our vLoc3 RTK Pro.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is head over to Vivax-Metrotech.com and make sure that you have downloaded the Locator 3 application, which you'll go to Products and Apps, Mobile and Desktop, and go down to the Locator 3 app, click View More, and this will give you the download to go ahead and install the Locator 3 app. Now this is a zip file, so you will have to unzip, extract the file, and load it onto your computer. You may have to ask for permission for that from your IT department, depending on your company's protocols there for web security and whatnot. But you will need this software to start the setup of your vLoc3 RTK Pro. Now once you have the Locator 3 app downloaded and installed and on your desktop computer or laptop, whatever you may be using, you can go ahead and plug in your vLoc3 RTK Pro, and it may ask you here to update your software of the RTK Pro, and mine is currently updated, so I've got version 2.0. And what this new version 2.0 is actually going to allow us to do also is over-the-air updates now. So we will no longer have to plug in the vLoc3 RTK Pro to get the software updates when we do them. It will prompt you on the screen of the receiver going forward once you have this version 2.0 installed. The main thing you're going to want to do is head over here to our cloud settings. The first thing we want to enter is our cellular network, and we're going to go ahead and just Google whatever network that may be plus APN. So in my situation it's TELUS, so I just Google TELUS APN settings, and it will come up and give you this code. So depending on what company you're using for your cellular network, you'll just go ahead and Google APN plus that company's name and it will come up. The next thing that you're going to want to enter is if you have a subscription information. I am using TopNet. So this is my TopNet information here. Obviously my password is blanked out, but you would enter your username, your password, the caster address, this is going to be where it logs into, and then the port here. Any subscription service that you're calling, you would just say it's a TCM3 protocol, and they would understand this and be able to give you this information when you sign up for your subscription. So the rest of this information down here, I usually just leave it. None of this stuff you will really have to change. We can talk about that at a later date when we get more complex in this. But this video is just how to get up and running with your vLoc3 RTK Pro. So if you don't have a subscription or don't want to, no big deal. The receivers do have SBAS in them, which is a correcting service that gets it down around 60 to 30 centimeters, which for some people that's good enough. If you just want to start out using this thing and see how you're going to go ahead, the major thing is get that cellular card, so a SIM card in there, very, very minor data needed, and then we can enter this stuff at a later date. Now the next thing you can go through is you can set up this whole receiver to do a bunch of different functions. The biggest thing you want to make sure that you have checked off is the new survey prompt. This is going to be when you start the new survey. I'll show you that later. When you turn the receiver on, it's going to ask you right away, do you want to start a new survey? That should automatically be selected anyways. Then we can go through and we've got, again, a bunch of different features and options in here that you can have turned on, turn off, depending on what you want to get into. But that can be sorted out with your local rep on a later date of customizing this to your needs. Again, this is just a basic, let's get up and running, let's get going with our receiver. Frequencies, we can adjust all our frequencies. We can put a splash screen in here if we want to change the actual splash screen to say this unit belongs to Vivax-Metrotech, return or call, put an address, phone number, whatnot. You can do that in here. Now, the next thing that you may want to get into is feature codes and logging. In the actual receiver, we have our basic definitions, which is going to be our gas or oil, our power, telecom, sewer. So all those basic features are already in there, and you can log as those basic features. If you want to name your individual pipelines or power cables or telecom, if you have names or nomenclature that you use to identify different things, this is where we can add that. We can actually add it to our points, and we add it in here, which is called feature codes. To create the feature codes, we can just go ahead and hit edit and start creating feature codes. So what I'm going to do is blank mine out so that it would look like how yours would look. Click on the edit button, and in here we're going to enter in the name that we want to call something and what code we want to call it. So we need a code, 2 to 3 digit code, and we need a name to call it. So let's just say I'm doing power cables. So I'm going to do power primary. Code. Now the next one I can do would be power secondary. I can also enter one. Let's do a gas service. And let's do a gas main. Okay, so these are pretty basic codes as they are. All right, so let's say that we want to add a little bit more information to these feature codes. Let's say, for example, the gas service. I want to know whether you hooked up using trace wire, which means it's plastic pipe, or is it a steel pipe and you direct connected to it. So all I'm going to do is go down and click this show attributes, drag the screen over a little bit, and I'm going to go here and name it something. So we're going to go ahead and name this. So we're going to say pipe type. The description over here is going to be the question that I want to ask. So the question in this situation is, how did you hook up? Okay. I'm going to say yes, it's mandatory. Then over here in the pipe type items, we can say trace wire or direct connect. So now when I go into my gas service, I'm going to have to select what pipe type it is. How did I hook up to this? So is it trace wire or direct connect? So what I'm going to do now is click OK. So that's given me my attributes here. So now what I have to do to create this as an actual feature code file, I have to export it to my computer, because right now it's just basically sitting in here and it's doesn't have a file definition to it. So I have to hit export. So I've created a folder on my desktop here that is config files, where I save my various different feature codes, which are VXJ files. You may want to go ahead and do that. It just is a nice place to, somewhere that you can store all of your files here. So for this situation, I'm going to say features for YouTube and hit save. Now what I'm going to want to do before I write this to the locator, I'm going to import the file, features for YouTube. I'm going to hit open. So now that's back in here. You can see features for YouTube, VXJ file. Now what I can do is click this little button and it's going to download it to my receiver. Done. Now all those feature codes, I just need to shut the receiver off, turn it back on, and all those feature codes are going to be in my receiver. Now, with all these changes that I've made, what we need to do before we can disconnect this is write the locator configuration. So I need to send this to my actual locator, so I'm going to click this box to write the locator configuration. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and it's going to send it to my actual receiver. Now, once that's done, all these files are saved in here, and it's going to ask me before I close, do you want to save this setup of the receiver? So when I click close, configuration has not been saved. Do you want to save it? I'm going to hit yes, because I'd like to have this in here before, so I'm going to say RTK YouTube. Again, you can call this whatever you'd like to, and then the next receiver that you get, if you happen to get another one or for some reason you need to reprogram this one, you will have this saved in there, and you can go ahead and upload this to the next receiver. The only thing that you will have to enter that will be a little bit different is you'll have to go in and enter your RTK settings. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. So the next thing that I'm going to need to do here is set up a VM-Map cloud service. I'm going to need to set up my cloud account. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is go to vmmap-new.vxmt.com. I'll put a link down below in the video for all of these web page links, but this is where you're going to go. You're going to click on register, and just go ahead and enter in your first name, last name, all the information that it asks you here to start up your actual cloud service. Enter the serial number of your unit. Select the region. For us in Canada and the US, anywhere in North America and South America, we're going to go ahead and select USA West, and then your other regions here are below. So go ahead, check those boxes, click create account, and away you go. You will start up with your cloud service. It will send you an email to go ahead and verify your email address, so make sure that you can see that email, and check your spam folder if possible. It may have ended up in there. So once you've done all that and you've checked your email, you've hit that confirm my email address, all you need to do is go ahead and sign in. And now you're into our cloud app. In our cloud app, we've got a lot of different features and surveys and ways that we can look at stuff. And we will get into that after we go ahead and take our points. The first thing that I want to touch on here is if you are a large company and you want to have an enterprise account, just go ahead and reach out to your local rep, and they will make sure that we flip that into an enterprise account. And once you do that, you can go into your settings and start adding other users to this or other receivers, so you don't have to create an individual account for every user, and then you can manage everybody's stuff. So if I want to go ahead and manage users, I click on Resource Management, Manage Users, and this is going to allow me to enter new people into my system. In order to enter new people, I just go over here and click Create New Entry and go ahead and fill out the information. Now, depending on if you have teams set up, you can set them under different teams, and then roles, what role you want them to have. Are they a company administrator? So therefore they have access to everything. They can add people, add receivers, change that kind of stuff. Are they just a company supervisor? So they can view all these things, but they're not going to make changes. Are they a team administrator? So if they're a team administrator, they'll be able to adjust and make changes only to the folks that are in their actual team. Are they just a supervisor of that team, which means they will then just view the folks that are in that team. Data analyst view, so that's just going to allow them to go in and view the actual data. User with survey delete, so this will allow them to have delete functions to delete points, to delete surveys. Or do I want them to just be a basic user, which means they're going to see their information and not be able to delete anything. These two functions here are just going to see their own data. Once I've decided that, you can go ahead and click Add. It will send them an email that they need to verify, and they have a certain amount of time to go ahead and verify that email and register themselves. Now, the next thing that I can do in here under Resource Management, I can set up my teams, but I can also manage locators. So this is often what you're going to be doing in here is setting up managing users and then going ahead and managing locators. So if I got another RTK unit and I want to register it to all this, again, I've gone through the Locator 3 setup. I've entered in my cellular data and all that good information. I'm going to click my plus over here to add a new locator. I enter the serial number, put in here who it's assigned to, and a display name is quite nice to have on that receiver because then you know where it's going and who has that unit. Now, if you hand this off between different people, you can see I've got display names over here. So if I want to change my receiver here and send it off to someone else, I click on the serial number and I can then change the assignment to anybody else that I have active in my list. Okay. Now let's go out and actually take some surveys, and then we'll come back and show you how to view those surveys.
So the first thing we're going to want to do is turn on our receiver. It's going to ask us, do we want to start a new survey? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. We're going to select gas. Now I'm going to go into my menu. I like to press the minus button because that will get me to the bottom where I'm going to my auto log features. Now we want to be able to turn on our auto log features because that's going to label our points every time we take one. So I'm going to go up, I'm going to put enabled. Now I'm going to go into my log feature. So what I'm doing here is a gas service, so I'm going to hit enter. So what's my hookup? I'm going to say plastic trace wire. So now it's going to put that label on every time I take a point with this receiver. So as you can see up here right now, my GPS is ticking down. It's just locating my position. I've just turned this on, so it does take a second or two for it to gather the information. Now what I can do is check my GPS RTK source. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go get resources, log into my RTK network, and now it's receiving the information from my RTK network. So now you can see when I push my I button, it gives me my 1-inch and 2-inch accuracy. So now we're ready to start doing our locate. So I am locating an 8.19 frequency, peak with arrows, and we're going to start doing our sweep to find our utility. So here it is here. Now my gain is set a little bit low. I want my bar just a little bit higher, so I'm going to bump that up. So wave this back and forth. You can see my bar is green, so that's a great signal. Find my peak and null. My peak and my null, or my arrows, agree perfectly. So I'm going to place this down on the ground, push the I button, plus to log, tilt it back, and there's my point. Now we can carry on doing our locate. I'm going to stop, find the center of my field, which is right here. I plus tilt and log. Now I've got my swing alert turned on, so you can see that swing alert going off when I tip it too far over. I'm going to put my receiver on the ground again, find the highest peak signal, which is right here. I plus take the shot. Now what I want to do is I want to take a shot of a curb here for my reference. So I'm going to push and hold the I button to get into my feature menu again. Scroll down to log features. Now I want to turn this off, make it disabled, because I only want one single log feature. I'm going to hit enter to get in my log feature. Press I. I'm going to scroll down to the curb. So now I'm going to walk over to my curb, put the receiver on top, plus to log, tilt it back, and log that point. So now that is going to reference the curb next to that other point that I took. Now if I wanted to take another shot of this curb, I can just move ahead, push and hold the I button, enter, still on curb, plus, and tilt back and take the shot.
All right, so now we are back in our cloud app. We've taken our surveys, and now we're ready to use those and modify them and export them. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is click here, go to surveys. and it will give me my list of surveys that I've done. Now, depending on your date range or what you have done lately, you may need to modify this date range to get in the range of where those surveys are, depending on when you're coming into this cloud. So right here is the project and the surveys that I just done. I've already labeled it and already put it into a folder. So how we do that, we see here we've got basically a generic name next to our file. We can go and click edit, and we can change that name here to whatever we'd like to do. So I'm going to say YouTube 1. I can add comments and whatnot to it. So I'm going to click save. Next one down here, I want to change this because this is part of the same project, and I'm going to name this YouTube 2. So I would name these whatever reference to my project or job that I'm doing. I can go ahead and reference those. Now let's say, because they're part of the same job, I want to group them together, I want to merge them. I check this box on this side over here, go up to my little group surveys button right here. So that's going to allow me to group my surveys. And I'm going to say, what's that name? What do I want to call that folder? So YouTube video. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click group. So now that's going to put those two together. Now, what's happened here? There's a reason why I did it like this. If you are in a different date range, that folder was then created on a different date range. So unfortunately, I'm recording this because I lost my original footage. I'm recording this a little while later from when I actually did these surveys. So what I'm going to have to do now is go ahead and open up this date range, and it'll automatically load. And there we are here with our folder that we just did. So now I've got that folder. I can go ahead and open it up, and there's the surveys that I did. There's the points that I took, all into one nice folder. Now let's go into the folder where I actually did this project and we're taking the points outside. We can go ahead and open this up here. And there you can see the points and the surveys that I did when I was out there. Took the points. I've got some individual just feature codes, which are just reference points. So if I go ahead and check on that, I took a shot of the curb, and there should be another one there as well. So those are my curb shots. So in here, we're able to view this. We can change to satellite view if I like, so we can actually see the satellite view. And in this satellite view, you can see there's a large tree, which is basically right over top of where I was taking these curb and reference points. So this is a good representation of how accurate our GPS is in these locations, even with tree coverage. With that RTK activated, I got great response on these actual points that I took. The next thing that I'm going to want to do is go ahead and export, because that's what we're doing here. We want to be able to take this information and this data out and send it off to another service. So go into my export tab, click over here on the export the file. So now I get to choose how I actually want to go ahead and export this. Do I want it as a CSV file? Do I want it as an Excel spreadsheet? Do I want it as a KML, shape, DXF, and a text file? So let's say I want to do a shape file. That's quite common for us. So I'm going to click on the shape and go ahead and click next. And in here, what I can do is select a bunch of different parameters of how I want this to come out. So we can code this as a well-known ID for your location. If your base maps use a separate ID and datum, we can go ahead and code that for it. If you don't already have it loaded, we click on the wheel over here. We want to go to destination datum because that's where we're taking this thing out and sending it to. And all we have to do over here is search our datum type. NAD, whatever. Go ahead and search through. These are all the well-known IDs that are very common throughout the world. So if you use a specific code or well-known ID, unfortunately you're going to have to go ahead and just do that conversion after the fact when you load it into your software. So once I've gone and loaded that in, click save, I can come over here and select from the list that I have saved to my actual folder, Down here, most of these changes are going to stay the same. We want the height, which is basically our elevation. We want it at the base, so the locator foot, it subtracts the height of the locator and puts that elevation right at the base at ground level. And all the rest of the stuff we're just going to leave the same. Our source datum is going to be WGS84 because that's how we go ahead and collect the data. So once we've done all this, we just simply click next. It's going to show us again, okay, you're doing your SC project, you're exporting it in a shape file. How are we transferring it? What datum are we using? Again, just a confirmation. If any of these don't look correct, we can go back and hit change. So now I'm going to click next and export. It's going to give me my little drop down here as a zip file, and you folks know what to do from there. You can basically just drag and drop this into your GIS setup from there, and that's how you're going to work with that. So if you want to just do a report, you can go and click on the report tab, and that is going to give me my image here that I can use. I can upload that into my any of my other software packages as my image. It's going to give me all my locate data down below and everything that we did here that shows our locate. You can then just go ahead and click the print button and export this as a PDF or print it, or however you'd like to do. You can go ahead and do that from here.
All right, that's going to do it for this video on the vLoc3 RTK-Pro. As always, if you'd like some more information on that or a personalized demo, please reach out to us or your local distributor and we'll be happy to come out and help you out with that. Thanks very much and take care.